Eagles fans, you're still alive today? Hello? Fly, Eagles, fly. Yeah, I don't think so. All right, I'm going to give you my quick synopsis on this.
Yeah.
I have a real problem with Nick Sirianni on the first drive of the game on a 4th and 4, not electing to kick a field goal. This analytic stuff is garbage. Get rid of it. It's horrible. That's number one. Number two, the play call was a perfect play call to Saquon Barkley.
Yes.
Perfect. But risk reward there, and you got to run the ball there. Saquon Barkley has dropped many, many passes in his career, just like that with the Giants. I know because I watched them all. Okay. I believe he's dropped 16 passes, just like the one he dropped last night. You and I could catch that ball. All right.
I would hope so. Yes.
He's dropped 16 of those. So, I'm probably not throwing him the ball in that situation just based on the fact that I've seen it all too often. You're also paying Saquon Barkley, and you acquired him as your big free agent. Give him the freaking ball. And here's the other deal, Rhino. It's 3rd and 3. If you get 2 yards and it's 4th and 1, you do the tush push.
Damn right.
And you got an automatic first down.
They didn't have any plan to stop that last night, Grant. I don't take any issue with what you say. I think you give him the damn ball. But I take issue with the defense, Grant. Yeah. What the hell happened on Atlanta's drive? They were down the field in a blink of an eye, Napes.
With no pressure on the quarterback, with wide receivers wide open. You are 100% correct. And I talked about that this morning on my rant. Blame Saquon Barkley, blame Kellen Moore, blame Nick Sirianni. All fair game.
Sure.
All fair game. What the hell's going on with the defense there? You allow that team to go 70 yards, literally like they were in practice. It was almost like the Eagles were instructed, you're not allowed to rush the quarterback and you're not allowed to make contact. I mean, it was a joke, wasn't it?
It completely was. I know they had a DB go down, but regardless, I get you got to keep defenders in front of you, but there's some middle ground there, Grant. You just can't give up the entirety of the field. They gave up the edges and let them get to the sidelines. Keep them at least, Napes, in the middle of the field.
Terrible. Absolutely awful. Tomorrow, by the way, 3:00, Sean Salisbury. We're switching Sean from Tuesdays to Wednesdays. So each and every Wednesday from now on, he'll be on at 3:00, and we'll talk to him about this and more. Give credit to Kirk Cousins. I mean, he was great.
You know what? He led the team right down. That's 6 or 7 touchdown winning drives for Kirk quietly. Great resolve, well executed. And, he might not be very mobile, but he was on time with the ball when he needed to be, Napes.
Vic Fangio should be fired. I mean, really, he's your new defensive coordinator, and that's your defense that you bring out onto the field for the final drive. By the way, as much as I admire Kirk Cousins, I put him in the same category as Lamar Jackson and Dak Prescott. Yeah. He's not anywhere near my top 5 if I have to win a game in the playoffs. And that's his biggest issue. He's only got one big playoff win, and it was at Philadelphia, or maybe it was at New Orleans. He beat Drew Brees once. But other than that, he doesn't do anything in the playoffs, and that's his big issue. But listen, if you're an Eagles fan, you're asking yourself, is this going to be a repeat of what I saw last year where they couldn't win close games and they fell apart in the final week or final half of the season?
Grant, it was really hard to understand because they dominated the time of possession. They dominated the line offensively for the most part. And then it's like, how is Atlanta still in this? And then all of a sudden Atlanta scores and you're thinking, it even hurts at the end, Grant. That was an ill-timed throw. You still had time on the clock. You didn't need a touchdown. You just needed a field goal to win the ball.
Terrible. The whole thing was terrible. If you're an Eagles fan, you had an opportunity to take early control of the division because Dallas had lost to New Orleans. And so you gave Dallas a reprieve there because Washington and the Giants are terrible. It's a 2-team race. When I look at the NFC right now, I got some real issues with what I'm seeing. San Francisco and the Rams have major issues right now with injuries, major. And they play this week. And if the Rams lose, they're done. If the Rams lose this week, they're done. And the reason why I'm saying they're done, they don't have enough firepower to withstand an 0-3 start. Okay? So that you can cross them off your list. Detroit has shown some vulnerabilities. They were lucky to win in week 1. They lose in week 2. All right. Minnesota now looks really good. You have Jordan Love out for the next 3 weeks or so. They were able to win against Indianapolis without him. But then you look at the NFC South, right? I mean,
Yeah.
New Orleans, wow.
Impressive.
Tampa 2-0.
Impressive.
Atlanta getting off the mat last night. So things look a little different right now in the NFC through 2 weeks.
And that's one of those weaker divisions on paper. You're thinking, all right, who's going to come out of this one? You got to pick a winner. But sure enough, sometimes we get surprised. It'll be interesting to see who can maintain. If I'm looking at the group of teams that you stated, I think Green Bay, if they can continue to run the ball the same way, they're going to be okay. As for the Lions, Grant, I think it's a Goff thing. Jared Goff just looks a little bit slow so far this season, just a pace behind, and not using Sam Laporta nearly as much as he typically does. Got to get that on track.
Good point. Very good point. So, we talk about what we saw with week 2 now in the books, and we switch our attention to 48 hours from now, and you have the Jets, their first home game against the Patriots. And people are saying, oh, this is going to be a blowout. I'll tell you, the Patriots have played the Jets very well. It's a divisional game. It's a short week. I wouldn't be surprised if it's a close game.
It's going to be. That's a young team, not super talented over the top, but they're playing hard for their first-year head coach, Gerard Mayo. I think it's a great story. They gave the Seahawks a hell of a run, and they won their first game. So that's one where I think the defense might be able, especially Judon's on the Falcons, excuse me. Their defensive line could get to Aaron Rodgers. This is where Aaron's got to open it up a little bit.
Cody says, do you like the NFL schedule as 2 Monday night matchups this week? No, I don't. They're bad matchups too. I don't understand why there are 2 games. Do you?
I don't. It's one of those things where they're trying to fit in primetime games. It doesn't make sense to me.
Well, give me good games then. Don't give me crappy games. Give me good games if you're going to give me 2 games.
I don't mind. I don't mind the first Monday Night Football of the year where you get a couple usually. They didn't do it this year, but past that, no thank you.
I don't mind 2 Monday night games on week 1 because everyone's just so amped up. And I'm okay with like an early game and then a game that's starting after that, like you know what I mean? Like I'm okay with that. Give me 2 games on the first Monday night. So, but it is what it is. I just do not understand what I watched last night. And Saquon Barkley was really good after the game. Put the blame on him. But, I mean, you can put the blame in a lot of areas. I'm going to start with coaching, number 1.
Sure.
Even though it was a perfect play design, risk reward. I mean, there's just – when you throw the ball, you're a Seahawks fan, right?
Yes.
Are you a Seahawks fan?
Of course, yes.
Okay. So when you throw the ball, excuse me, when you throw the ball when you really shouldn't – it can cost you a Super Bowl.
You're going there. Yes. It's a no-brainer. I'm sensitive to that.
Okay. But when you throw the ball, there's an added risk. Would you agree with that?
Yes, absolutely.
Okay. And yes, you can fumble running the ball. If you're a Niners fan, you know that Roger Craig fumbled in the 91 championship game against the Giants. And so you can fumble. All right. It's not like, but throwing the ball just seems to have a little bit more risk, right?
Well,
and again, I'm destroying your mood right now.
You're good.
I'm destroying your mood by bringing that up, but you know what I'm talking about.
I do, and I see it across the board with a lot of teams. You could almost bring this up with the Niners as well, Napes. They're getting cute once they get into the red zone. They've made a couple of those screen passes to the outside to Deebo when they've got the run game going with Jordan Mason. So, and to your point about Philly too, they let Kirk Cousins, even though they didn't do much in the first half offensively, Atlanta, they let him get comfortable because the D-line did not get to him. I only got to him twice in that first half. And that seemed like one of the ones where the defense really should have been coming out aggressive, and they did not.
All right, we got college football to look forward to. I got to tell you, I've talked about this. You and I discussed it last week. I am so turned off by everything that's Colorado Buffalo football. I'm so turned off. I'm just so turned off with, your quarterback pulling that act at the end of the game, refusing to shake the hand of the Colorado quarterback. I'm talking about Sanders. I'm talking about Dion after the game. I'm just done with Colorado. They haven't done anything And they're like, they get constant attention. They've just turned me off. I hope they get destroyed each and every week. And they played well against Colorado State. I watched the game, but who the hell's Colorado State? They're nobody.
Exactly. It's a rivalry game, right? That makes it tough and close. Yeah. For those that don't know, Colorado threw the ball. It should have been a situation where they knelt down at the end of the game, under 2 minutes left, and they went for it on fourth down, threw it 4 straight times. Grant, this was Dion. I want everybody to hear this after the game.
You guys buried him last week. I think you didn't say anything tremendously positive when I think they almost went for 500 yards total offense. We won, right? Where was the praise and the love? But it was a lot of hate and disdain. And here we go again. Here we go again. Yeah, that's what they got. I mean, these are young men. They're not old as I am, waxed with gray and have wisdom and understand how to handle the foolishness. They're not like that, man. They still feel the feelings and emotions. I mean, they get those text messages and that stuff they have online, and they get the DMs and they get all this stuff. And it don't make them feel well because you're treating them like professionals. I don't mind, but just treat everybody the same, and I'm cool.
Treat everybody the same, and I'm cool. Does it seem like he needs to take a dose of his own medicine when it comes to working with the media, Napes?
It's embarrassing. You know what's embarrassing that Colorado gave him the contract that they did. It's embarrassing that the university allows this. And you know what else really embarrassing? It's embarrassing that the media does not get together and stick together and shove it up there. You know what? All right. Because the media in this instance, to me, should come together and they should dictate how the game's going to be covered and how their program's going to be covered. Because the reality is Colorado football is nothing, absolutely nothing without the media, nothing. And if the media in Denver gets together and says, you know what, we're boycotting you. You want to boycott the Denver Post? You want to boycott CBS? And a question from a reporter from CBS in Denver that has nothing to do with your beef on CBS. Okay, fine. You know what? That's your right. It's our right. We're not covering you. We're boycotting you.
Bingo. Absolute spot on. There was a point in that press conference, too, where one of the reporters said, Dion, may I ask? And he goes, no, next question.
Right.
It becomes, is this about the football? We've talked about this numerous times, or is this about the platform? And week in, week out.
If you had the media coming together and saying, we're not covering your program, which would be hard to do because your job is to appease the masses and provide information that the masses want. But in this case, you would have Colorado, you would have the athletic department crawling on their hands and knees back to you, begging for forgiveness and to please cover our team.
Absolutely. They would be reaching out, efforting whoever they could that is covering the team, credentialed or
it's a joke.
Not. It is.
It's a joke.
Speaking of college football, we've got to bring our guy Condog into the conversation. How you doing tonight?
I'm doing wonderful tonight. I actually had a pretty good day today.
Excellent. Right. Good to hear that.
Yeah. It's actually a pretty good week in college football this week. We get our first little taste of some new teams in playing conference play for the first time. We have USC playing their first Big Ten matchup versus the Michigan Wolverines right there in Ann Arbor. And then we also have Tennessee Volunteers. They're going to Norman, Oklahoma to play the Sooners.
Yep. That's the game I want to watch. Tennessee's offense looks unbelievable this year, but they haven't played anybody. Well, I shouldn't say that. The NC State's a good team, but I want to see them in Norman in that environment against Oklahoma. Michigan to me is terrible this year. Give me Tennessee, Oklahoma. I want to see that.
Yeah, I'm with you. Michigan does not look well on offense at all. They have a huge quarterback issue. They have one that they use to throw and can't throw, and they have one that they're too scared to have throw and just use him on running plays like he's Tim Tebow.
You know the old saying, if you got two quarterbacks, you don't have one.
Yeah. does not work. It worked with Urban Meyer, but you know what? Urban Meyer was one hell of a coach, and that Florida team was super talented, like ridiculously talented.
Again,
This
Michigan just
team's
won the
not
national.
talented.
Yeah,
This Michigan team's
Michigan.
not nowhere near that talent level. Like,
I-
no. They
Yeah,
cannot do that.
I have two really good friends. They are Michigan alums, diehard Michigan fans, and they're like, whatever. We won a national championship last year. I'm okay if we suck this year. That's their attitude,
Yeah, and that's the new. Honestly, I think that's going to happen to a lot of teams with this, NIL and transfer portal. It's going to happen to a lot of teams where there's a couple of guys that are maybe sophomores that are really good, and then all the seniors go on to the NFL and stuff, and they're like, let's just jump ship.
And the other game that I'm already looking forward to is next Saturday, Georgia at Alabama. And the reason why, I don't have to explain why, but I will go into a little bit more detail. Georgia barely beat Kentucky on Saturday.
That's right.
And I got to tell you, Alabama to me was very unimpressive in their win against South Florida, but very impressive in their win Saturday at Wisconsin. Isn't it interesting that Alabama has no game this week? They got a week off. They got a bye week to prepare for Georgia. It's at Tuscaloosa. First game without Nick Saban. I can't wait to see that game.
I can't either. Georgia has a bye week as well. So we're going to get these teams at their very best. Like this is, pretty much like a SEC championship almost,
I should have pointed that out. Thank you for pointing that out. Georgia does as well. I should have pointed that out. I think it's more important for Alabama right now than Georgia for a variety of reasons. Georgia is the top dog in the conference, number one. And you have a new coaching staff at Alabama, their first time going against Georgia in this environment. So I think in that sense, it's more of an advantage for Alabama. What do you think of that?
Also, I'm not going to hate on Georgia as much for struggling with Kentucky, because even 2 years ago, the year they won the title, their second title, they only beat Kentucky 16-6. They have struggled against in Kentucky. They are not good in that state for some reason, but they're good enough to pull it off, but they struggle. Like if let's say if Alabama was somehow located in Kentucky, I think they would dog walk them. I don't know what's with Georgia and Kentucky, but they're not themselves when they are in that state.
I know this doesn't have to do with the play on the field. They are also struggling with keeping their players out of trouble. And driving ridiculous amounts of speeds, in some cases killing people. Another one was pulled over going 106 last week.
Hey,
how about that? It happens almost every week, doesn't it?
It seems like it. Yes, absolutely.
I can't tell you the answer to that because it happens so often. Like I don't know how to control it. Are you going to put checkpoints at like every corner store?
It's really what's the phrase that you put on an engine so it can only go a certain amount of miles per hour?
Restrictor
plate. That's a governor lock.
Yeah, there you go. That's what they need. Yeah.
One more thing. How about Ryan Williams, the 17-year-old freshman from Alabama? 4 touchdowns on the year, almost 300 yards. He's 17. This kid is incredible. He is fast. College kids are having trouble guarding him. He could still be in high school just dominating. Like this kid is legit. He's legit. He was right there, Mobile, in their backyard. They picked him up and he can play. This is another Bama great receiver, up there with probably going to be up there with like the Devontae Smiths and Amari Coopers and Jerry Jeudy's of the Saban era. This is one hell of a pickup for Kalen DeBoer.
Is this true that Sac State's trying to join the Pac-12? Are you kidding me?
There's not a chance.
No.
I mean, stop it, would you please?
We covered it. Yeah. They have a basketball gym.
Stop it. Would you please stop it? I mean, come on.
Might as well have Folsom High join the Pac-12.
Well,
I want to share this story with you, okay? And I'm going to share this story, and if he's watching, he will get a kick out of this. I have the utmost respect for John Volek. I love the man. Mm-hmm. Like, I don't even want to say anything bad about John Volek because that's how much respect I have for the man. When he became the coach of Sacramento State, we were doing an interview in person. I'm interviewing him one-on-one, about his expectations. And he makes the comment to me in the interview, I want to make Sac State the Florida State of the West. And
Wow.
I said to him, I go, John, come on. And he goes, what? I go, John, stop it. This is what I said in the interview. I go, John, I started laughing. I go, John, stop it, would you please? And he actually took some offense to it and was saying, no, that's what I want to do, blah, 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 blah. And I said, John, I want to win the lottery, but I'm probably not going to win it. All right. And so John and I had a very, I'll tell you how much I respect John. I was very critical of the Sac State football program, and I had a lot of admiration when I first moved to Sacramento, and John Matos was the head coach, and Greg Knapp was an administrative assistant, and I covered Sac State all the time at Channel 31, but I also was the play-by-play announcer for UC Davis football on cable TV when I got to Sacramento.
Nice.
But I did not have a grievance or I didn't have any animosity towards Sac State. It's just that I thought that they were an inferior program, even though I thought John Matos did a very good job. But my point is, I've been very critical of Sac State because of the lack of attendance and their rinky-dink stadium and all of that. Okay. Well, John, when he came to Sacramento, he would take exception to some of the things I would say on the radio, and he would call me up and we would talk. And he would, I want to invite you out to a game this week. And I'm like, John, I can't. I got two small boys, and bring them out to the game, blah, blah, blah. My point is, John was a salesman, okay? And then he became the athletic director at Sac State. And I have the utmost respect for John Volek. And I'll tell you why. It would have been easy for John to badmouth me, to put me on his bad list. But John tried to win me over. John was such a positive influence and an individual that he wanted to take one of the critics and show me that I was wrong, even though I didn't believe I was. But the point was, he tried and tried and tried. And to this day, I hear from John Volek, and I heard from John Volek the day that I lost both my jobs.
Wow.
John Volek reached out to me, okay, and called me and messaged me. And I have the utmost respect for this man, but I wanted to share that story when we were doing an interview, and he said, I want to make Sacramento State the Florida State of the West. And I actually started laughing, and I said, John, come on. I literally stopped. I'm like, John, come on. You get 8,000 people for your games in the bleachers, all right, and with no backs on the chair. I'm like, John, stop it. But anyway, I went off on a tangent there, but I wanted to share that with you.
That's a great story. Hey, that's the attitude that you gotta have when you're walking into a program like that. Recruiting, salesman. I love that. Great way to handle it. Dion, take some lessons. Sorry.
All right, Condog, you have a good rest of the week, buddy.
Oh, I will. Thursday night football's coming right up around the corner. We got a Friday night college football game between two undefeateds of the Illinois and Nebraska.
Yeah.
That's actually going to be a good one. A little Midwest battle right there.
Thank you, man.
Very good. Right, thanks, Condog.
Rhino, when I moved to Sacramento in '87, I was very fortunate. I got right into doing UC Davis football. And Jim Soker, the legendary Jim Soker, and I mean legendary, was their head coach. And I'll never forget walking onto their practice field to cover them for the first time. And it had a feel about it. Like when I walked onto the field at UC Davis to watch their practice and just being around them for one day, and then meeting Jim Soker for the first time, I understood why UC Davis football had been so successful to that point, with Ken O'Brien going into the NFL and other players from UC Davis going on to have good NFL careers, and why UC Davis football was special during that era. It was because of Jim Soker, and it was a feeling. It was just I can't even really put it into words, but I'll never forget it. I was like, wow, I get why UC Davis has had so many big time wins for a relatively small program.
Yeah, and it got passed along to Bob Biggs. I was lucky enough to
Yep.
be around that team fairly
Me too.
close. My best friend, Tony Kays, was one of the great receivers at UC Davis, moved on to play for the Bengals for a little bit, but then
Yeah.
you had your JT O'Sullivans.
Yeah.
It was ran different, Grant.
Yes.
It's a we belong. It felt we belong.
When I use, and again, this is no disrespect to Sacramento State, and I don't mean it in this way, but during that era, when I would cover both teams and I would walk onto the field, or the difference was night and day.
Mm-hmm.
You know, it was night and day. I was like, oh my gosh, you know, I was like, the difference in these programs is just night and day.
Well, even and no disrespect to the fan bases, I grew up going to both. Sac State felt more of a kind of high schoolish, bring the family out to the game, but UC Davis, you felt like you were at a big time college place watching a game in a smaller environment. I believe it was Tooney Field. Was that in Ames?
I believe so.
Yeah,
I think you're right. Says, thank you for the super chat donation. Can you tell that story of that guy at a UC Davis football game who said it was so hot I'm sweating like a fat girl? It wasn't UC Davis. It was the Canadian Football League, and Ryan and I have talked about that. And the first game I was doing was against Doug Flutie and the Calgary Stampeders in Sacramento at, ironically, Sac State on a very hot July night. And I was doing a game with Jack Youngblood, the great Hall of Famer from the Rams. And we did our open, and then we came back from break, and I said, welcome back. And I go, you know, the temperature right now is 107 degrees. And Jack goes, gosh, man, is it hot up here? And the Sac State choir had sung the national anthem, and the gals were in long green gowns, and the guys were in black tuxedos singing the national anthem on the field. And I said, well, Jack, it could be worse. You could have been on the field singing the national anthem in a black tuxedo. Now, I can't duplicate Jack's Southern accent, but he said, Grant, I'm up here sweating like a fat girl. And I'm like this.
Just letting it breathe.
No, look at what. I'm like this. That's Youngblood with a Y. That's what I did.
It's always
That's Youngblood with a Y. All right, we're getting ready for the opening kickoff. Blah, blah, blah. No, really. That's how I handle that.
How was the response? Because you called games to the gold mine, not to that in particular, but you were doing a radio show. How was the response to the gold miners and the CFL during that time?
It was mixed. I think most people thought there was no chance in hell that there would be longevity with that, with teams, and Canada did not accept the two teams. I think it was two teams, right?
It was. Yeah, the gold miners and the Sacramento Surge that was in the World League. They won the championship of that, and then there was the gold miners, and then they moved to San Antonio, and they were part of the CFL.
But there was another team. Was it Baltimore that was part of the CFL too?
I don't remember.
But my point is, Canada did not want the American teams, and I knew that, and I was extremely skeptical of how this would work. And as it turned out, it only worked for 2 years, you know. Right. But I tell you this, to this day, doing the Canadian Football League, as a matter of fact, I was just talking with Greg Coet when I was in Sacramento 2 weeks ago. Greg was the sideline reporter for us, former starting defensive back for USC when they were really, really good.
Wow.
And Greg and I are still to this day very good friends. He's with the sheriff's department. He's had a variety of jobs. He was the head of the SWAT team for a while. I mean, he's very well established with the sheriff's department. But Greg and I were just reminiscing about this, how much we loved. And, you were in a lot of these games going to Ottawa. I loved Ottawa. It ended up being one of my favorite cities in Canada. Gosh, it's so beautiful. Going to do a game at Sky Dome and staying at the Sky Hotel, and just phenomenal. Doing a game in Edmonton, with 60,000 people, right, against the Edmonton Eskimos, or going to Regina, Saskatchewan against the Rough Riders, or going to Hamilton and doing the Tiger Cats game. I did all of that for 2 years. And I got to tell you, it was one of the great memories of my career doing play-by-play for the Canadian Football League. And I also met a lot of the national Canadian sportscasters that I had already known of because they did all the hockey games.
Oh, very
And
cool.
oh my gosh, I can't believe I'm doing a game with the guy that I watched do, hockey night in Canada. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
Like
absolutely.
it was phenomenal.
That is great. Good memories.
Yeah.
Good super chat there. Way to bring that one up and
Well,
reset.
what about you? What do you remember about the Canadian Football League?
It was the closest thing that I had been to being around pro football, but I
Yep.
have nothing but good memories, Grant. I mean, yeah, hot sometimes at Sac State, but they did a good job keeping the kids involved. And I remember good football. I seriously remember, even if they were losing, you still got to see professional football and the
Yeah.
players. That was the cool part.
Yes.
It was like a lot of the players were happy. They were
Yeah.
happy to be here in Sacramento, and many of them went on to get other opportunities in the NFL after that, which is great.
Hey, I want to tell you about Sunrise Landing, the newest residential community in Calusa from Blazona Development. And there are many models to choose from. And I'm going to give you the address. You can go online and check it out. Again, no Melrose, no homeowners, great location. It's adjacent to the Calusa Golf and Country Club. Access to I-5, Highway 20, Highway 45. Just go to CalusaSunrise.com and get all the information that you need, and you'll enjoy Sunrise Landing in Calusa. Check it out when you get an opportunity. Glad to have you with us here as we are rolling along. Don't forget Sean Salisbury tomorrow at 3:00. Looking forward to that conversation.
Yeah, can't wait to hear that. Lots to talk about, and you get to preview the Thursday night game.
Yes. Cody says you're right, Grant. Kyler Murray playing like the 8-0 Cardinals from a few seasons ago. And Cody, during that year, after the first half of the season, he was the leading horse in the barn for MVP. He was the guy that people were saying if you were going to have an MVP out through the first half of the season, Kyler Murray would have won the MVP, and then they fell apart. And it also coincided with DeAndre Hopkins getting hurt. As soon as Hopkins got hurt, the Cardinals offense just completely stalled.
And he's going to have a shot to prove it right now the way he's playing. The Niners actually 3 of their next 4 against the NFC West. So they're playing their division. Kyler's going to get his shot.
Any comments on the attire that all the NFL commentators are wearing? Show up in a light blue suit, some wearing a sweatshirt, etc. Where is the professionalism? I believe you're referring to Amazon Prime's Thursday night coverage, correct?
Mm-hmm.
It seems like you can wear whatever you want there. I'm not, first of all, other than only seeing it when they promote it during the game, I have not watched 1 second of anything to do with a pregame or halftime or postgame on Amazon Prime. The only time I ever see their talent, if you can call them that, is when they promote it in the middle of the second quarter, getting ready for halftime. So I can't really comment on it.
Yeah, everything's gone a little bit more relaxed depending on the setting. Even NBA coaches these days, Grant, they're not in suits as much anymore. I don't have a problem with it for the most part, depending on the environment, though.
Yeah. Again, I think the Amazon Prime package is pretty much a disaster, in my opinion. It may not be a disaster financially. And disaster is probably too strong of an adjective. But I mean, I think when you see what Al Michaels and how bad he was on Thursday night, and he and Kirk Herbstreit don't seem to really be that tandem that we're going to be talking about 10 years from now.
No.
Their talent on it's just the whole thing to me needs to be retooled.
Yeah, I agree. And you could have bad commentators. People are still going to tune in. It's NFL football. But
Yeah, exactly.
Al Michaels, it seems like this probably should be his last stop in all reality.
This one says, I don't like how the commentators wear sneakers with suits. I hate that too. I hate that look. It's become very popular. You'll never see me wear a suit with sneakers. Never. It's just I do not care for it at all. I understand the comfort, but you see it all the time now, and I'm not a fan of it.
I don't know if it's as much about comfort as it is the quote unquote drip, showing off your Jordans or showing off your nice shoes with the suit. It's a statement thing. Like, Grant, have you seen the suits where the pants for the men are actually capris. They exist.
Yeah, I actually have seen that. That's yeah.
It's a little bit different. For
Yeah,
sure.
you won't see Grant Napier
Yeah.
going to see his tailor Bobby in Bangkok and coming out with a suit that looks like that.
Yeah, I don't think Bobby wants his name on anything.
No,
quite.
no, I don't think Bobby and his father Raja would they'll do a lot of things to
Yes.
appease the customer. I'm not sure they would go that far.
Yeah, I'm with you 100%. What have you thought about Tom Brady through 2 weeks?
I thought that in week 1, he was struggling. I thought that he was a perfect example of why you don't take a rookie quarterback and throw him into the starting role for the most part. Tom Brady, when he came out of Michigan, wasn't the starting quarterback of the Patriots.
That's right.
And I thought he really struggled in the first game. I only watched 2 quarters of his second game, and I thought he got better. Here's the problem I have with all of this. The problem is that you made a good point a moment ago. You're going to watch the game regardless of who the announcers are, if that's the game you want to watch. You and I could be doing the game, and people are still going to tune in and watch the game.
Yep.
So Fox, in my opinion, erred greatly by forcing Tom Brady into a position that clearly he's not ready for. All right. They should have kept Kevin Burkhardt with Greg Olsen. They should have put Tom Brady with whomever you think is the most gifted play-by-play announcer that will work with Tom and accelerate his learning curve quicker. Whoever that would it be, Joe Davis? Would it be Kenny Albert? Whoever that individual is, that's who Tom Brady should have been with. He should have basically used this first year as a year to get the experience without being on the center ring of the circus. Okay.
Sure.
That's what I would have done if I was Fox. I don't give a damn how much they're paying him. Don't tell me, well, they're paying him all that money. They need to put him in. Well, first of all, you shouldn't have paid him that much money. And number 2, you don't take an individual and put them in a role that they're not ready for. Third, and you talked about this 2 weeks ago, and we discussed it. He is working with a unfair, in my opinion, set of circumstances because the NFL is preventing him from having access to meetings, practices, conversations because of the ownership role that is waiting to be approved with the Raiders, right? So that's also preventing him from doing his job fully. All right, so that's my take. What's your take on it?
You know, I think nerves the first week, and I think there was more of the watching the game at points and reacting as a fan as if you were on your couch. I thought that Burkhardt has done a wonderful job of kind of setting time up, kind of holding his hand through certain moments. The second week, though, I was impressed. I thought he did much better. I think he added to the game. He didn't take away from it. He let some stuff breathe. And I think Fox's error is this. If you're going to, and I agree with most everything you said, but don't promote Tom. Like, hey, watch the game because Tom's doing it. If you're going to slide him into the one spot, slide him into the one spot, and it's America's Game of the Week. It's a group thing. Just don't promote him on top of that because you're setting a bar that realistically, however great he could have been in week 1, week 2, he's still not going to probably meet most of some people's expectations. He's Tom freaking Brady.
I think he's going to be really, really good. I think he has the tools to be very, very good, but it's going to take a while. And I don't personally believe that any individual should be thrown into a position of that magnitude when they're not ready. And he's clearly not ready.
He is not, and no fault of his own.
Not for the number 1 seat.
Yes,
not for the number 1 seat.
Greg Olsen. I mean, it's hard to pass that guy up. I think he has done a tremendous job with Fox.
I mean, I'm not a Tony Romo fan, but I think Tony's actually gotten better. I think he's learned from the criticism, and just in watching the game the other day, I thought he has gotten better. I think he's toned it down a little bit, and I think he needs to. But I was a big Phil Simms fan. I thought Phil did a great job on TV. Great job. I don't know why he's not doing games.
Grant, anytime a Giants preseason game is on NFL Network, I will watch simply for the fact that Phil is doing the game. And I don't know why CBS has kind of mixed up their crew. You look at the NFL today, they've shaken it up. Phil's not
Yep.
there anymore. That kind of confounds me. I don't know.
Who's not there anymore?
Phil Simms. He's
Oh,
not
yeah,
on the
yeah,
NFL
yeah,
today.
yeah. I'm sorry. Yeah.
Yeah, and you even look at inside the NFL, they shook that roster up now that it moved to the CW. Tony gets me sometimes. In fact, this was a moment from the game this past weekend where I just kind of cringed.
This is Mahomes throwing it in the dirt on purpose. So he sees it, and then he's got such great instincts. He tries the guy coming right there from the inside. You saw Wilson coming. He didn't see that initially, but he sees everything, and that's a winning play. No turnover.
It was just a bad throw. Tony, that is instincts right there. That's Patrick Mahomes. That is why he's 15.
You know, I'm trying to put this in the don't take something simple and make it complex, right?
Sure.
Like just stop it. You know what I mean? It's like John Smoltz, who I love. I used to have a weekly show with John. John feels like he's got to analyze every single pitch when he's doing a baseball game as if it's rocket science. You don't need to analyze every single pitch.
I get that. And now that you've seen that with Jim Nantz and Tony Romo trying to take that step back, there's those opportunities. Hey, you always had the arm. You talk about that all the time, letting some stuff breathe. And that's a good thing to do.
I thought Jim Nantz was a much better play-by-play announcer with Phil Simms than he is with Tony Romo.
Yes, not even close.
Right. Tony's really hurt Jim Nantz in his play-by-play role.
I would agree with that 100%. I think Jim Nantz and Tom Brady, I know we're crossing networks over. I think that combination would be pretty darn good.
I would agree with you there. Let's talk about New Works Plumbing. They've got a fix for you. They're available around the clock, 24/7 for all of your plumbing needs and repairs. Just go to sackserviceplumbing.com or call the number on your screen. Remember, New Works Plumbing, they've got a fix for you. sackserviceplumbing.com or call the number on your screen. Bennett's Prime Seafood and Steaks, 3 locations, including the West Side Grill in Rockland. You've got Roseville. You've got the location in Sacramento. Prime Seafood and Steaks, yes, indeed. You will love it. I love the redfish when I go there for lunch. I love the New York Prime when I go there for dinner. And the brunch is excellent on the weekends. Don't forget about their happy hour sips and taste every day from 2 to 6. Go to Bennett'sRestaurants.com to make a reservation and more. That's Bennett'sRestaurants.com.
Ooh, can't wait to get back out there for brunch. Grant, we do have a little bit of news on the Kings front. Nothing too major. TJ Warren, Nazir Little, and Jay Crowder in for workouts this week. And with the ages considered, TJ Warren injury history, only played 26 games in the last few seasons. Jerry earlier today thought if you're going to look at anybody seriously, probably Nazir Little. No soundbite.
Oh, sorry. Why did he say that? Just out of curiosity.
Just because 24 years old, coming off of about 52 games with Phoenix, he thought that, that probably fits the Kings timeline a little bit better. But again, workouts, these guys looking for invites to training camp, trying to get in.
All right. Well, training camp is right around the corner. And so we'll be talking Kings basketball wall to wall. Make sure you subscribe and also give us a thumbs up. We greatly appreciate that. But we'll be giving you a lot of content starting pretty soon at the end of this month. And, this is a different look team. The Kings rolled the dice to get DeMar DeRozan. They made a trade. They don't have Davion Mitchell anymore, who really played well in the months of March and April. I think you got to admit that. You don't have your number 1 pick for at least the first half of the year. So let's see how this team's going to be able to gel. What's going to happen when the game is tied with a minute left? Is it going to be De'Aaron Fox or is it going to be DeMar DeRozan? How is that going to look when you have a play that is coming out of a timeout with 15 seconds left and you're down by a point or two? It's normally Fox is now going to be DeRozan. I mean, these are all things that we're going to have to figure out, and it's going to be interesting to sit back and watch how Mike Brown coaches this team.
Yeah, certainly. All great points. And Mike Brown, that's exactly where I was going to go. Is this going to be free flowing like we have seen in the past 2 seasons? Is this going to be a more half court set oriented team? One thing is for sure, they've mixed the cards up a little bit with the starting line, or not the starting lineup, but bringing DeMar DeRozan in.
Yep.
And I think it's going to be an exciting time. A lot to be excited about if you're a Kings fan this year.
Two things that I'm really interested in seeing is what role will Kevin Huerter have on this team? And has Keegan Murray improved his ball handling enough to create his own shot as opposed to being more of a catch and shoot and a spot up guy? His handle is not good. I think that's his weakness. And I want to see more consistency in his offense. And I personally think that the difference or the success of this, I know what Sabonis is going to do. I know what Fox is going to do. I know what DeRozan is going to do. I know what Monk's going to do pretty much on a nightly basis.
Sure.
I don't really know what Keegan Murray is going to do on a nightly basis offensively. I know he's going to play defense for me every night. Yep. I don't know what he's going to do offensively.
Yeah, that handle is so important. It's just, I don't think Keegan needs to be the guy that you go 1-4 flat for and you say, go make me a play, but he needs to make those couple of steps, those couple of moves to get that separation. But if all things go right, Grant, I think Keegan's going to get a lot more looks that he got similar to his rookie year, where he's spotting up. You're building to his strengths. Now he still needs to improve. And as for Kevin, same thing goes there. How much are you going to be able to run offense through DeMar, which puts Domantas Sabonis back down in the block where he thrives, puts him in his sweet spot. And speaking of Kevin, really quick, he's back on the court shooting. He was working out earlier or later last week, but not cleared. He's going to be reevaluated in October for full contact, full go.
Yeah, so we'll be covering a lot of that as soon as training camp opens up in we're talking less than 2 weeks now, right?
A couple weeks, yeah. You got media day, training camp, and then the first preseason games October 9th.
Yeah, so man, that's right around the freaking corner.
So
we are into it. We are into it big time. We are into it big time. And speaking of big time, Sean Salisbury's on tomorrow at 3:00 Wednesdays instead of Tuesdays. We've switched him to 3:00 on Wednesdays. He does a lot of things during the week in addition to being on the mornings on the Houston radio station. He's very, very busy. So we're going to do him Wednesdays at 3:00.
It's so great when you two get together. Love that he's making time for the Grant and Sean show.
Love it. So what's your schedule like tomorrow? You going to do a 2:00 show?
No, I was hoping either we're going to do at 8:00 or we're doing night court tomorrow night. So your choice, my friend.
You doing night court tomorrow night? What time are you doing it?
Well, I'm either going to do night court or we're just going to do a show, you and I.
Yeah, I'll do a show with you tomorrow. I'll do a show with Sean. I'll do a 3:00 and then you and I come on at 8:00.
Perfect. Done.
Yeah. All right. I love that. You know what I see? You notice how organized we are? We talk about what we're doing live on our show. You know,
it's teamwork right there. Trust. We're on the same page, kind of.
So that's tomorrow. And again, I really hope you can join me at 3 and then join us tomorrow at 8:00. We always look forward to doing as many shows. And we're going to be doing a lot of shows, Rhino. I think that people that are new to the channel that weren't with us last year, I think they're going to be surprised and pleasantly so with the coverage that we have during the NBA season.
100%. Wall to wall. This is your place. Game days and off days. We got it coming to you. Make sure you're subscribed.
Jerry Reynolds, always on our channel, and we're grateful for Jerry still joining us, and we'll have a couple of other wrinkles and surprises along the way, but we are very much looking forward to our coverage this year.
So much so. Yep, absolutely. Stay tuned. You never know who might pop up on this channel.
You got that right. All right, to everyone else, thank you, Rhino. Good show. Thank you very much, and we look forward to talking to you tomorrow. Don't forget, Sean Salisbury at 3:00, and then we're back here at 8:00. Until then, take care, everybody. Bye-bye.